And you know, it does messages too, anything that's a communication with the cell
Yeah, we have
tower.
no
I didn't,
video.
yeah, but I didn't like, I thought pretty
And then,
I thought airplane mode just
think so?
made it to where
I
it
didn't
didn't
go.
try
charters
to
not
access
responsive.
the
Of course, maybe I was expecting,
Mess with
parades aren't what they
signals
used to
or-
be. When we used to do floats at parade, hey, the city one was
how to
nice.
do
The
airplane
city, that was a nice float they had, but we used to put a lot of work in it.
Terrible.
We won every year almost, cause we did.
Well, how would you do it if you weren't gonna win?
Yeah, right. But anyway, yeah, I thought it was
You know
boring.
what, I'm gonna shut it
I
off.
said, my gosh, if they had a fire somewhere, all fire trucks were in.
I know I can't make noise out, but
Yeah, but you know what? Leave it on the counter
was-
so
it
you
was
remember to
Eugene.
turn it back
I said,
on.
then I forget to turn
Yeah.
it off.
The guys that own Reason Flag.
Yeah.
I missed one from your
So,
brother today.
yeah, it was kind of still, you know, made up. That's the best one I thought of the whole thing.
Did he need the
I don't think they
counselors?
wrote on it, I just think they just had
You're
their.
right, I'm supposed to order a
Did you guys
pizza
write on that?
from Baker's before I leave, 'cause that's gonna be our dinner.
All right, well,
I think the city guys.
there you go. If it's sitting here, you're gonna say, ooh, I gotta turn it on.
So Chuck, this right here is the liquor licensing authority, and so I'm just gonna
Hey,
be saying,
they're not bad.
just wanted it to be formalized, which
Oh,
direction you wanna
yeah.
go.
You need a water
You
pick.
wanted the municipal judge
Do you? Okay.
to be the authority, and then,
Which one did you drive?
the actual
My teeth
ordinance is down here for review.
even worse as I got older. And I've always had crooked teeth, never had braces. He told me I better do this to save my teeth.
Silhouette
I
of
wanna try to save
Yeah, yeah.
raising the foot.
one for 3 years.
Oh my God.
I don't even know who won or who didn't win.
If I'm lucky.
It's 6 o'clock. We'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oops, there's a flag.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And remember, turn your microphones on and tip them towards you, and turn your cell phones off, and we'll have roll call.
Mayor Schomburger,
Here.
Counselor Anderson, Counselor Bain,
Here.
Counselor Baker,
Here.
Counselor Becker,
Here.
Counselor Dykes,
Here.
Counselor Quinlan.
Here.
Everyone has a copy of the minutes of the regular meeting of June 26th. Are there any corrections? Hearing none, they stand approved as submitted. Visitors and delegations.
Need to make sure the mic is on.
All right. Hi. Good evening.
Still can use my braces.
Ah,
Oh, me too.
all right.
Sorry if I feel your pain. Thank you all for allowing me to take a few minutes. My name is Rick Brandt. I'm the Chief of Police up in Evansway. I'm also the past president of the Colorado Association of Chiefs of Police. And I also chair what's called the CACP Executive Certification Board. And I'm here tonight to recognize your chief, Travis Anderson, because he has achieved CACP Executive Certification. I'd like to tell you just a little bit about that program, if I may. It's not an easy status to attain. Right now, out of the 160-some chiefs in Colorado, I believe only about 45 of us have attained this level of education and experience and leadership. And that's really what the program is designed to do, is to sort of highlight the chiefs that go that extra mile, attain higher levels of education, go for extra training, higher level executive training. Your chief recently graduated from an FBI school called LEADA. That's the sort of thing that we recognize, and then his experience and the leadership that he brings, not just to your department and your city, but to the region as well. So since about 1964, CACP has been recognizing chiefs across the state for their achievements. And truly, it's my pleasure and honor to be here to recognize Travis for his exceptional leadership in the community. So for Travis, we have a little plaque for him that says Law Enforcement Executive Certification, presented Chief Travis W. Anderson in recognition of your demonstrated professionalism, executive growth, and leadership excellence. That's a sort of sign of the Colorado Association of Chiefs of Police 2017. Travis, congratulations. Thank you very much.
All right.
Travis, I also Just recognizing your achievement for the good win. Well, thank you very much. Gotcha. That's all I have. Again, thank you all for your the opportunity to be here tonight. And enjoy your evening.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good job, Travis.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Good job.
Safe travels.
Thank you.
Okay. Congratulations. Yeah. Thank you. Moving on to management. First reading of ordinance number 856-17. Is there a counselor that wants to introduce that?
I'll introduce the first reading of ordinance number 856-17, an ordinance amending chapter 4 of the Brush Municipal Code, increasing the rate of the city's sales and use tax from 3 6/10% to 4% effective as of January 1st, 2015.
Okay, is there a second? Motion. Second? Second? All right, discussion. Do you have any comments or any staff report? Are we ready to? Okay. Roll
Mayor
call vote.
Mayor Schoenberger,
Yes.
Counselor Anderson,
Yes.
Counselor Bain,
Yes.
Counselor Baker,
Yes.
Counselor Becker,
Yes.
Counselor Dykes, Counselor Quinlan.
Yes.
We'll skip number B because Monty's out of the room for a minute. We'll go on to number 6, finance.
Okay, let me get there. I'd like to make a motion to approve disbursements and payroll from June 26th through July 10th of 2017 totaling $534,206.52. Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion?
I just want to add that $193,000 was a payment to JN.
And roll call vote.
Who was that to?
Who seconded?
No,
I
who
did.
was the payment to?
JN. Jocelyn Neal.
Oh, Jocelyn. Gotcha.
It wasn't a payment to
J2
Oh,
construction.
J2. Okay.
Yeah.
the construction for Oh, thank downtown. you.
Okay.
Downtown.
Thank you. Want to make sure. Okay.
All right. Yep, roll call vote.
Mayor Schoenberger,
Yes.
Counselor Anderson,
Yes.
Counselor Bain,
Yes.
Counselor Baker,
Yes.
Counselor Becker,
Yes.
Counselor Dykes,
Yes.
Counselor Quinlan.
Yes.
Now we'll go back to number 5B, liquor licensing authority. Review the options and discussion.
Okay, this was going back to our last work session. We talked about the liquor licensing authority and which direction the city council wanted to go. And prior to that, we had been given direction to start going in the direction of having the municipal judge be the liquor licensing authority. And then we had at this last work session a little more crosstalk about it, and we just wanted to put this out there to get a very formal direction on which way to go. So opening it up, but we're hoping to get tonight which direction the council would like to go with the liquor licensing authority. And so I turn it over to the council for discussion.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Do you want to?
Do you want me to?
You can. Yeah. Go
Okay.
through that.
Last week, council directed me to ask if other municipalities had a separate liquor licensing authority for a city-owned golf course that also holds a liquor license. I was not able to find any, and I posed the question on the clerk's listserv, and several clerks responded that they didn't feel that this would be a great idea, all because you would lose consistency between the two entities. I reached out to the state liquor licensing, and they would not provide legal advice. One of the deputy city clerk of Wheat Ridge, he used to be a licensing agent for the state liquor licensing, so he's kind of our go-to person whenever we have questions. And he recommended to remove council members as officers from the liquor license and have those officers be the city staff, your administrator, manager, treasurer, and in our case it would be our community service director who would serve as the manager. And I recommend doing this regardless of what you decide for the liquor licensing authority, just because it saves a lot of money as we turn over council in elections. Another option is to appoint the municipal judge, attorney, or community members as the liquor licensing authority, or lease out the bar or restaurant, which we've tried and not been successful in the past. So those were just kind of the options that I gathered. I don't know if Bo has any more or not.
I don't have any more, but we do have in our work session a draft of an ordinance to
Yes.
discuss and look over.
Yeah. So this is not to approve the ordinance. This is just to give a general direction on if we're going to go that route.
Yeah, the ordinance would create a new licensing authority, which would be composed of one hearing officer. And then the council could appoint, by resolution, the person to fill that hearing officer position.
Yep.
And we just did that in the interest of time, and that was kind of the direction most people were in favor of last week, so we just tried to accommodate you by drafting an ordinance.
And number 1 and 2 there pretty much go together, because the liquor licensing authority would be the judge. The-
Not necessarily,
but-
the ordinance doesn't appoint him.
But yeah, but it
Yes.
would be some other person.
Right.
But the people that are the officers of the liquor establishment at the golf course would not be, because right now it's myself and Vicky. And as that changes over, the new guys have to go through a whole background check. You have to go get fingerprinted. There's quite a, they check you
Expensive, yeah.
with all that, and to avoid all those checking, and maybe somebody doesn't want to have that done. That way they're out of that. So I think number 1 and 2 go concurrent.
Also on that check for the liquor licensing authority, Monty, Lance, and I are also on
Yes.
that liquor license currently too, so it will be just
Removing those
Removing
two.
us and getting that. Yeah.
Right.
So
I think it makes sense then to remove the council members. Like I said, with elections, you have to turn over. So to me, that makes sense in removing the council members and then keeping the administrator, treasurer, community service director as a manager.
yeah.
I would agree. I would be in agreement with that.
And getting a separate person to be the authority. Set.
Right, and I was probably one that had a lot of reservations about this, and I thought about it after our meeting that night. And one thing that the mayor brought up resonated with me is that in the past, he's been on here 12 years, we really haven't had any problem with people coming in and expressing what is council going to do because of a problem that we have there. So I'd release any objection I have to doing this. And also knowing that if there is some problem in the future with the judge taking that responsibility, council could also decide at a later date to take that responsibility back. So.
Yeah. Yeah, we can. And also, if it turns into a big deal with this, it would be tough, I think, for me and for us, because we probably go to that establishment. We know the people. We do stuff. We're not a disinterested third party that could really judge that. We're swinging, and biased, and want them to be good and do all those things. And it'd be hard to be objective and not ever come back to you.
And which of the choices here would not be a disinterested third party? Because they're all city employees,
No.
except for
Those,
the.
They're not. We're not
they're
naming them
not
as an
the
authority.
The judge would be the liquor licensing authority.
But that's an option.
He is the disinterested.
We haven't yet decided
Right,
that.
we haven't decided that.
One thing I thought of, this hasn't occurred before you, but it might help you make a decision. If a person was coming to get a new liquor license in the city, and let's say you had 20 people that showed up and said, we don't want this establishment, and you had 20 people saying, we want this establishment, it's up to the applicant to prove to the authority that the wants and needs of the community are being met. But, is that it's very difficult when you're trying to encourage business and that type of thing to really hear that and then make that decision. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's difficult.
So, in terms of which direction to go, is there a motion to give staff the direction on how to proceed on this?
I would make a motion to approve, to go forward with items 1 and 2 as outlined in this proposal, or this choices.
Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, motion and second. Further discussion? And roll call vote.
Mayor Schoenberger,
Yes.
Counselor Anderson,
No.
Counselor Bain,
Yes.
Counselor Baker,
Yes.
Counselor Becker,
Yes.
Counselor Dykes,
Yes.
Counselor Quinlan.
Yes.
Moving on to staff reports. Finance.
I just have one quick item this evening. A weekend ago, over the 4th, the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, helped out the chamber with beer garden and different things and different function at the rodeo. And I just wanted council to know that the county guys that are out there working now, they were fantastic to city and chamber and rodeo association. They really helped out a lot. They were really, really super guys. I just wanted people to know.
Thank you. And police department.
Just a couple things. We had the rodeo, obviously, 4th of July, pretty uneventful. The band was awesome. Since the last council meeting, we've had 683 calls for service. Today I got notified that we got a CBI grant. They actually do all the footwork for smaller agencies. We're going to get a new automated fingerprint machine, so we can get away from the old ink. So when you come in for your fingerprints, you'll just be able to do it digitally. But it's about $30,000 to $50,000 at zero cost to us.
Nice.
Awesome.
Thank you. And I'd like to say this year at the parade, I must have been exceedingly handsome, because I noticed a lot more cameras and phones out there taking a picture of me. and I'm sure it just must have been me and not the vehicle.
It wasn't me.
All right. And also, I'd like to thank Officer Blank, because turns out I was out in a car that I park in the street getting something out of the trunk. Had my hands full, shut the trunk, left the keys in the little trunk door, and he noticed many hours later. So he was driving by, noticed him, and brought him in. And that was great, because it was a car I wouldn't have driven for several more days. So it was very good. Tell him thank you. All right. Moving on, City Clerk.
Just to note that this week is Parks and Recreation Week, and I listed the items that you can participate in, your little calendar. And then to remind you, on July 31st at 5:30 here in council chambers, I'm hosting a council candidate information meeting, and would like to have as many of you come to share your experience if you can. That's it.
And City Administrator.
Okay, a few updates on street projects. The Emerson Street project, that is complete now. And so if you've driven over it, pretty smooth street and should last us years and years. Elm Street is, it's probably about on its last week. They're doing final grading of it right now. And even when you leave here today, look down Elm Street and you'll see it's pretty flat and everything. There'll be a company that comes out and checks the compaction rate, compaction levels on it to make sure it's compacted right to the right amount before they put the asphalt on it. And Mill Street also, they're doing the final prep on that and doing the compaction test, and they're hoping to have both of those paved this week. So you should have those 3 of our bigger street projects all complete. And then downtown still moving along pretty well. Most all the stormwater components are put in at this point in time. They're doing their double checks to make sure everything's ADA compliant and they have the right curb lines for the flow of the water to go to the inlets. And then they should start forming those up here pretty quick. So those are all looking pretty good right now. We have a few other potential businesses that have expressed interest in either upgrading their buildings here in the community or new facilities coming in, and They're confidential at this point, but it's a really good indicator for the community. We're excited about that. Loves is still moving along pretty well, and I think they paid their plant investment fees for wastewater, and it was $200,000+.
Roughly 217.
$217,000 for water, sewer for the new Loves. But everything's looking really good out there as well. One thing that council, if you guys could think about this a little bit between now and the next meeting, is shipping containers. Those big metal boxes, shipping containers. We don't have an exact code or policy on those shipping containers for the city, but they do fall under like being required to have building permits and things like that. And they are very, very durable, but they're not the best looking things, you know. And so a lot of communities around the country are looking at those, saying how do we regulate those and how do we make sure they don't bother the neighbors, those type of things. And in Brush, we haven't had a lot of them come in, and if you go behind City Hall, you'll see that the Public Works Department, they have a couple, 3 back there that they store like the larvicide for the mosquitoes and different chemicals and things like that, and store them in those. And then the fire department has a couple behind the fire department building, and those are for a future burn training center that they're going to be doing. And you might see a few others around the community. Now, we haven't really worried too much if they're in the commercial area or an industrial area. They're towards the back somewhere, out of sight, out of mind. But then we are starting to get some residential requests, and we had one locate in the downtown area over the last couple weeks. And so we're going to be visiting with the Planning and Zoning Commission on the 17th and just getting their thoughts on what we should do with that issue. And they are great storage containers, very durable, but they can be sightly sometimes. And how should we manage those in the future?
I noticed one going to the rodeo on the 4th, on the north side of the road, just before you turn to go into the fairground, that there was a residence over there that has one behind the residence.
Now there, in the county then?
Yeah, I guess, yeah, maybe that is in the county. That's probably not inside city.
Yeah. So we're probably going to get more in the future requests, and we just would like to be very clear what the policy is on those, so that we know how to handle those situations. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. Any council reports?
I want to finish up with the marijuana laws from CML, and then go on with the remainder of the new legislation next meeting. A bit of housekeeping was that something to follow on from what Rick said. The household limit under House Bill 17-1221 is 16, and like Rick said, we can choose as a city if we want it to be less. So you guys, would you like a different number? Because we can do that. Anybody have any thoughts? Okay, well,
I'd like to see it maybe on a future work session.
I would too.
Discuss it now.
Yeah, can we do that? House Bill, going back to House Bill 1220 and 1221, 1367 and House Bill 1414, they're all four connected. And I talked a little bit about 1220 and 1221 last time, so I'm not going to go back except for just to say how they tie in. 1220, the intent of the law is prevention of diversion to the black market. House Bill 1221, the intent is gray and black market marijuana enforcement efforts. And what that means is by setting the household limit at 16 plants, and it defined the retail and medical marijuana assists for clubs. So, since we're gonna put on a work session, if you had any more questions, Chief wants to add anything, so that'll give us time on those two. House Bill 1367 is another one that I'm not going to talk about because research and testing licensure at the state, we're backed up by the state, but we also have a city ordinance because we already said no. The way I understand it, okay. House Bill 1414, and maybe Chief knows this better than I do because this is my first introduction to civil asset forfeiture for large-scale cases in order to seize assets, because this was my first introduction to it. It's kind of complex. Is that the way you understand it too? It's a little bit intricate? Okay, thank you. Jump in here.
Well, the asset forfeitures, it used to be a lot of the federal government, larger scale, say larger scale, $10,000, $15,000 seizures. Now, under this new House bill, we can't do that, and we can't obtain anything unless it's 50,000 or more. You have to go through the state system.
Right, that's exactly what I was going to say next. $50,000 limit for the local government to participate, and it adds a reporting requirement to DOLA. Is that your understanding too? Okay. The caveat is, and this is the part I'm still trying to work this through my head. I don't quite understand this, but the caveat is a government-signed task force to mitigate its damage. And do you know what they're talking about? Because I didn't quite understand my notes when I got back to it.
What they're talking about is there's a lot of task forces that run off of federal government. You know, they'll use the federal government seizure. 20,000 here, 30,000 there. So the task force uses those funds to basically go back after the illegal narcotics. So with this new House bill, it's really going to put significant impact on drug task forces. And you might see a lot of them start going away because they can't rely, unless it's 50,000 or more, they can't rely on those funds.
Okay, so that's the damage they're talking about? It's just the burden?
It's going to be a heavy burden.
Okay, that's what I thought. Thank you for that. That pretty much wraps up from my notes anyway, as I remember the new legislation for this year. Like I said, we heard Governor Hickenlooper speak. He's really adamant about the grow houses and the black and what he calls the gray markets, and the big money that's being made off of those is incredible big money, and he talked a little bit about that. To me, it all kind of clicked as we passed the ordinance against retail recreational sales here, that we're now backed up by the state with teeth of enforcement. And as far as I can see, House Bill 1220 and 1221 really does help us with enforcement teeth. Is that how you would see it too, Chief?
Yeah.
Okay.
You get into all that stuff,
Right, yeah. And we're still a little bit experimental, Washington and Colorado being the first two states, and this is I think the 4th or 5th year after the amendment passed, and we're still seeing those new legislations as things come up. So, I'm done with marijuana until we have I also wanted to talk about the report. Are we still reporting? Did anybody else want to add anything before for CML? Okay. I'm going to be going on about CML for quite a while because this was a hefty CML legislative overview, and if you followed the legislative year this year, it started out in January with the governor making a statement about how rural folks were, it was offensive to some people. And then it went to the budget, and the budget this year was a big battle at the State House. So if it's okay with everyone, I'm just going to break these down and go through them all because we had a huge list at CML. So everybody good with me waiting to get the rest? Okay, thank you.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay.
Second. We are adjourned. We'll start the work session.